I've lived in Ashburn since 2017, and I'll be the first one to tell you, this is one of the best places to live in Northern Virginia. But something is changing right before our eyes. The lifestyle here is no longer a secret, it's no longer a deal, and the Ashburn Premium has officially hit an all-time high. For years, Ashburn was the place people moved because they wanted more house for the money, newer neighborhoods, and a little more breathing room, all for substantially less than closer in suburbs. But today, that value conversation has completely changed. So in this video, I'm breaking down why Ashburn has gotten so expensive, what you're actually paying for, the biggest trade-offs, and my answer to the big question, is Ashburn becoming too expensive? And you're not gonna wanna miss it, so let's dive right into it. Boom! Hey everybody, it's David, your favorite realtor. So the whole reason I wanted to make this video is because Ashburn has hit a point where the conversation has changed. We're no longer asking, is Ashburn a good place to live? I think most people already know the answer to that. So the real question is, does the price still make sense? And to answer that, we have to start with the numbers, because this is where the story really starts. So the median sales price for a single family home in Ashburn in 2026 has hit $1.2 million. Now to put that number into context, that's $150,000 more than last year, which is a 14% jump in a single year. That is a mind-blowing number. And I couldn't even believe it. I literally had to triple check those numbers. Now, if we go back to 2019, a single family home in Ashburn was going for right around $700,000. So we're talking about a 71% increase in just 7 years. Now, Ashburn has always been one of the pricier suburbs in Loudoun County, but this jump feels different. This is not just inflation. This is not just a crazy housing market we've seen these past 5 years. This is Ashburn being completely repriced. Because today, buyers are not just paying for the house in Ashburn, they're paying for the Ashburn lifestyle. They're paying for the schools, the newer neighborhoods, the convenience, the town centers, the parks, the metro, access to Dulles Airport, and the overall quality of life. And it's not just expensive compared to what Ashburn used to be, it's expensive compared to the rest of the region as well. So the median sales price of a single family home in Northern Virginia as a whole comes out to $950,000. So Ashburn at $1.2 million is now $250,000 above the regional median. And if you're relocating to the area and Ashburn is on your short list, I know for a fact you've probably been on Zillow or Redfin.com looking at home listings. And when you see those home prices, you're probably going through some serious sticker shock right now. And trust me, I get it. I look at Ashburn home listings all day, every day, and I still get sticker shock. In fact, you might even be second guessing your move to Ashburn altogether. And my least favorite part about all of this is that $1 million single family home in Ashburn used to feel like something special. But now in 2026, $1 million gets you an average at best single family home in Ashburn. That is absolutely wild. So the big question becomes why? Why has Ashburn gotten so expensive? And more importantly, is the premium actually worth it? So yes, you can definitely blame some of this increase in single family home prices to inflation and the crazy housing market we've seen these past few years. But that is not the whole story. So here's my take. Ashburn used to be the value suburb of Northern Virginia. 25 years ago, people moved here because they could get more house, more space, and usually a newer neighborhood compared to Arlington, Alexandria, or any of the closer in suburbs. And yes, the price of admission was a longer commute into DC, but back then that trade-off made a lot of sense because the value was there. But now that equation has flipped. Ashburn is no longer the backup, less expensive option. It's become the destination. And once a place becomes a destination instead of a compromise, the price tag starts to reflect that. Now, as much as I love making YouTube videos about living right here in Northern Virginia, what I love even more is helping folks just like you relocate to the area. So if you're even thinking about moving to Northern Virginia, reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Just know I got your back when you move into Northern Virginia. Now let's break down exactly what changed. What does Ashburn actually offer today compared to 15 years ago? And we'll start off with the Metro. So the Ashburn Metro station opened in November of 2022, and this has been a game changer because it was the first time Loudoun County ever had a Metro stop. So now you can jump on a train in Ashburn and go to Dulles Airport, Reston, Tysons, Arlington, DC, even into Maryland. And to put that into context, 15 years ago, the closest metro station was 35 minutes away from Ashburn. Then you have One Loudoun, and this is a big one. One Loudoun has become the downtown of Ashburn. You've got restaurants, shopping, entertainment, major retail brands, Trader Joe's, and the summertime carnival. And the crazy part is, they're still not done. The One Loudoun expansion is currently being built, which is gonna bring even more restaurants, more retail, more residential homes, and more office space. And to put all that into context, 15 years ago, One Loudoun wasn't even open yet. So if you wanted that true town center feel with restaurants, shopping, and walkability, you were probably driving 25 minutes over to Reston Town Center. Then you have new parks and rec centers all throughout Ashburn. So the newest one is the Ashburn Rec and Community Center, which opened last year, which features a 50-meter competition pool, a leisure pool, basketball courts, fitness area, and an outdoor playground that was literally built with toddlers in mind. And as someone who has a 3-year-old toddler, this is a huge win. Then you have Reservoir Park, which opened in 2024 on Beaver Dam Reservoir, and this park is absolutely stunning. You've got walking and biking trails, picnic areas, fishing, water views, and a central pier with a boat launch. Again, 15 years ago, neither of these existed. Then you have newer master plan communities. First, you have Willisford, which is one of the most beautiful luxury communities in all of Loudoun County. Willisford opened for new home sales around 2011, and today sits on over 4,000 acres with jaw-dropping luxury homes, resort-style amenities, miles of trails, community events, and even its own working farm. This is not your average Ashburn neighborhood. This is the kind of community that made people look at Ashburn completely differently. And to put that into context, 15 years ago, Willisford was just getting started. It was nowhere near the high-end destination it is today. Then you have Metro Walk, which is one of the newest communities in Ashburn. At Metro Walk, you'll find 4-level luxury townhomes with high-end finishes, modern 2-level condos with rooftop terraces, and the best part is the walkability to the Ashburn Metro Station. So if you want a newer construction and Metro access, Metro Walk checks a very specific box that did not exist in Ashburn 15 years ago. And then on top of all that, you have the housing stock itself. Ashburn is still one of the newer feeling suburbs in Northern Virginia. In fact, 39% of all the homes in Ashburn were built in the past 15 years. So when you compare Ashburn today to Ashburn of 15 years ago, it's not even close to the same place. So yes, Ashburn has gotten way more expensive, but for good reason. Now with all that being said, Ashburn is not a perfect place to live, as there are some real trade-offs to living here. Let's start off with the money side. By far the biggest con of living in Ashburn is just how expensive it is. And I'm not just talking about the sales price of the house, I'm also talking about the monthly cost of actually living here. So let's start off with housing. Like we talked about earlier, the median sales price for a single family home in Ashburn is $1.2 million. But when you turn that into a real monthly payment, that's where it really starts to hurt. With 20% down, today's rate of 6.5% plus taxes, insurance, and HOA dues, you're looking at a monthly mortgage payment of $7,000 per month. And that is a lot of money. And then depending on the neighborhood, your HOA dues may be a lot higher than what you're used to. For example, in Belmont Country Club, the HOA and social membership dues combined can come out to over $500 per month. And then you have daycare. And this one is just insane. If you have little kids or you're planning on having kids soon, then daycare in Ashburn can easily feel like a second mortgage payment. And for a lot of families, including my family, this can easily become your highest non-housing monthly expense. So my wife and I paid $2,300 per month for daycare for our 3-year-old. And to put that into context, that is literally more expensive than the mortgage payment on my first home that I bought in Ashburn back in 2018. And that one hurts big time. Then you have data center growth. Now, if you know anything about Ashburn, then you probably already know this place is basically the data center capital of the world. And depending on who you ask, that's either a cool fact or a huge negative. Now, personally, I don't think data centers are some massive deal breaker, but let's be honest, they are definitely an eyesore in certain parts of Ashburn. You'll be driving around and everything feels like this beautiful newer suburb, and then out of nowhere, you've got these giant industrial looking buildings. So for some people, that absolutely takes away from the appeal of Ashburn. And the thing is, they're not slowing down either. In fact, Amazon just acquired George Washington University's technology campus in Ashburn, which is a 122-acre site, and the plan is to redevelop it into another data center campus. So when people ask, are data centers still expanding in Ashburn? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. So continued data center growth has become a huge negative for a lot of residents. Then you have airplane noise. So Ashburn is only about 10 miles away from Dulles International Airport, which is awesome, by the way, but that comes at a price, as you will hear airplane noise all throughout Ashburn. Now, some neighborhoods, the airplane noise is a lot more noticeable than others. And I happen to live in one of the worst neighborhoods for airplane noise, which is Loudoun. Now, when I'm inside of my home with the windows closed, I don't really hear the airplane noise. But if I go out for a walk or I'm hanging out on my balcony, within 5 minutes, I'm gonna hear airplane noise that sounds just like this. Now, I personally don't think it's that bad. At worst, it's a small inconvenience. It should definitely not be a deal breaker. But if you are someone who's very sensitive to noise, this is something to keep in mind. So yes, Ashburn has a lot going for it, but the trade-off is real. And for a lot of buyers, once you factor in the home prices, the monthly payment, data centers, and airplane noise, they're gonna decide that the Ashburn Premium just isn't worth it anymore. And I totally get it. So will the Ashburn Premium disappear anytime soon? Personally, I don't see it. Because as long as demand continues to outpace supply, and Ashburn keeps adding jobs, retail, entertainment, infrastructure, and overall convenience, there really isn't a clear reason prices would drop in a significant way. Now, could prices level off? Absolutely. Can the market cool down from time to time? Of course. But a major pullback in Ashburn prices, that would take a seismic shift in the market that we haven't seen since 2008. And one of the biggest reasons is simple. There's just not a lot of land left in Ashburn. Now, Loudoun County as a whole is still growing, but Ashburn specifically does not have unlimited land to keep building brand new single-family homes from scratch. A lot of Ashburn's major communities are already built out, and the land that is still available is getting harder and harder to compete for. Because it's not just home builders looking at it anymore. The home builders are now competing with data center developers, and the data center companies have much deeper pockets than home builders. So when a prime piece of land becomes available, it's not automatically going to turn into a neighborhood. In many cases, it might even turn to a future data center site. And that puts even more pressure on Ashburn's housing supply. So when you have limited supply, strong demand, then that Ashburn Premium is probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, with that being said, I'm seeing more and more relocation buyers ask about more affordable places in Loudoun like Sterling, South Riding, Leesburg, even rural Western Loudoun County. But even with a lot of buyers choosing more affordable options, the demand for Ashburn is still extremely strong because of everything the area has to offer. And with tech, government, and other high-paying jobs continuing to support the Northern Virginia economy, I don't see the Ashburn Premium disappearing anytime soon. So bottom line, Ashburn isn't expensive because the market got irrational. Ashburn is expensive because it earned it. The metro, the airport, Loudoun, the schools, the neighborhoods, these aren't hype. They're real infrastructure and real lifestyle upgrades that didn't exist 15 years ago. So the Ashburn Premium is real, and for the right buyer, it's worth every penny of the price of admission. And I've said this a million times in my previous Ashburn videos, but as long as I'm living in Virginia, I'm staying in Ashburn. So the real question is not, is Ashburn too expensive? It's, is Ashburn worth the premium to you? And if you want to continue your research, check out this video right here, where I break down the top 7 best places to live in Loudoun County. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And I'll see you in the next video.